Hello and welcome to Pubcast number 6 from the Croydon Constitutionists. I'm Mike Swadling and I'm here with my pubcasting colleague Dan Heaton. Hello Dan.
Good day, sir.
Whereabouts are we and what are we drinking?
We're in the Skylark and today we are drinking a pint of Mamma Mia Cat. So it is a combination of the ABBA-based musical and meerkats, basically. But it is a lovely little pale ale, and we're enjoying it very much.
Fantastic. So, a bit of a special pubcast today. Often we focus on one article, one item, but today very much as we record this on Monday the 27th of May, after Theresa May announced her resignation on the Friday, focused on our soon-to-be former Prime Minister and our memories of her. So, Dan, you've always been a big Theresa May fan. Any thoughts from the past on her?
Well, one never wishes to speak ill of the soon-to-be departed, but I do find myself clutching at plastic straws when considering her legacy. When she first became Prime Minister, shortly after the referendum, Brexit means Brexit. She was talking saying all the right things. Unfortunately, I had to think about what was she like when she was Home Secretary. As Home Secretary, she would constantly go on about immigration, knowing full well that she had no power to really control it. So, okay, what will she be like as Prime Minister? Well, Brexit means Brexit. No deal is better than a bad deal. And where are we now? We are nearly 3 years on from the referendum and her shortly thereafter taking power. She waited 9 months to invoke Article 50. And, you know, we're now receiving the results of the European parliamentary elections that should not have been taking place. She failed to leave the European Union on the date she said. And she's now facing the consequences of that. Unfortunately, you know, the second female Prime Minister we've ever had, she bears no resemblance to the first that we had whatsoever.
Now, to be fair, she did start off okay as Prime Minister, at least what she said, and that is to the point you make. The Mansion House speech was pretty good for Brexiteers, I thought. Most of us were behind it. What were your thoughts at the time she gave that speech?
So I think that's the Lancaster House speech.
Oh, the Lancaster House, oh dear.
Those of us who know our houses. But yeah, no, perfectly fine, absolutely fine, you know, talking about a positive relationship with our neighbours whilst going out into the world and doing free trade deals, etc. Unfortunately, somewhere along the line, whether it was as a result of losing not getting the majority she wished to get in the 2017 general election. Why did she call that election? Why was the manifesto so bad? Why was the campaigning so bad? What if you are the Prime Minister and you're going to call a snap general election, you need to be ready to take part in debates. She was not. That in itself is shocking. Now, the Conservative Party needs to think about this when it comes up to the next leadership election, because perhaps had she have actually had to go to the Conservative Party membership, she would have had some sort of debate against him. In this particular instance, it would have been Andrea Leadsom. But she would have had that experience. Having not had to do that to become Conservative Party leader, she then refused to take part in the debates for the Prime Ministership, as it effectively, when she'd called the election herself unnecessarily. She was just not up to the task. And we saw this with her not being prepared to take questions and having a little clique around her who were, whether they're yes men or what have you, she was not prepared to listen, whether it was to the Conservative Party, the Conservative MPs, the country as a whole. Unfortunately, her legacy is going to be very poor.
There's one good thing about her legacy, of course, so I think we should all agree. She's lost Gavin Barwell's job to us. But preceding that, as Home Secretary, let's think about her legacy there for a minute. She didn't control immigration, which probably if she had, we wouldn't have voted Brexit, let's be honest.
Well, do you know what? I think I will pick you up on that. That's her view. That's actually her view, because she believed that the one thing that she had to get into her withdrawal agreement was control of immigration. Everything else could go hang.
You're right, and that's a massive mistake for her. I don't think that alone would have changed things. I don't think that's the main reason that people vote for Brexit by any stretch of imagination. But there was enough of that had they controlled immigration the way they said they would have, we may well have found we wouldn't have got, what was a million vote majority, but that million votes just may not have turned out had they got control of that issue. But interestingly, of course, the other issue from her legacy, a couple of issues that strike me with her legacy. One is that, your private data is the government's data should they choose it. And the other issue that springs to mind is if you're one of the unfortunate victims of knife crime, and actually if you're listening to this, you're probably not in the demographic of people that are likely to be affected by knife crime. But if you're one of the unfortunate victims of knife crime, first blame the assailant, secondly blame the Home Secretary that stopped Stop and Search. Stop and Search has collapsed by 70%. The fear of being caught with a knife on you has completely gone, and that's the legacy of Theresa May.
Well, you only have to go back to way before she became Prime Minister, when she described the Conservative Party as a nasty party. She clearly took on board some ideas about having to, clean up the Conservative brand, make it more politically correct, use whatever phraseology you wish to, and completely went with that. It's absolute madness. People, whatever their background, know full well that, especially in London, and we're in Croydon, there are major problems with knife crime amongst certain communities, and it needs to be dealt with. And this sort of, kit and heel approach to it is just unacceptable. She needed to deal with it, and she, for political reasons, she was just not prepared to do so, and we're left where we are, unfortunately.
And herein, I think, lies a lot of the problem. She's a rich kid from a rich background, maybe not as a child, but certainly since she's been married. A lifelong member of the Conservative Party, always expected to get on, and is a paternalist, and looks down and feels that she needs to look after, rather than just after the people, rather than simply run a successful government. And she's never understood, and with Brexit, she never understood why we voted for it. She's never understood our viewpoint, and she knows she doesn't need to listen to us, because as a great paternalist, she knows better.
Oh, she definitely did not understand Brexit. She knew there were issues with the European Union, and she definitely was, understood that there were concerns about immigration, but that's about it. She felt that there was a governing class, whether they be British or European or what have you, who should just run the country, the continent, take your pick, and that was it. And Mike, you mentioned just a little while ago the fact that she wants to look what's in your emails. She has no understanding of the internet, none whatsoever, because it's just not of interest to her. No understanding of modern technology, and that's why very shortly, apparently, you're going to have to go to a corner shop to buy a porn licence. You can't make this up. No doubt you'll be popping along to the corner shop, won't you, Mike?
No, because I'm sure, like everyone else, we'll find a way around it. I mean, the notion that on the internet that the government... I work on a lot of IT systems. I know certain countries in the world, you have to what's called egress data locally. The reason you have to egress internet access locally is because the government, most notably the Chinese with the Great Firewall, have a blocker on what goes in and out of their country. It is frankly unbelievable that Britain is now doing that filtering. That's the legacy of Theresa May. Your free ability to view what's online has been diminished by this woeful Prime Minister.
Without question. But ultimately, this legacy of failure will be most notable about the fact that she failed to do the one thing she said she would do repeatedly, both in Parliament and elsewhere, that we would leave the European Union on the 29th of March 2019, no matter what. We failed to do so. We very much hope that we do, but it won't be down to her.
Absolutely, there's she's fouled for herself. She's fouled for a party. She's fouled on Brexit, and she's fouled for Britain. It doesn't sound the most nicest thing to say about someone that's leaving, but facts are stubborn things. Anyhow, so that was our brief view of the premiership of Theresa May. I'm sure you have your thoughts. Send them in. We'd be delighted to publish them. That's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.